Timothy J. Perez. I did a YouTube short on this the other day, so you might have already a little bit heard about this. Okay, so let's get into this one. Timothy J. Perez, 31. This one won't be too long. Okay, I did a short on it to cover it, and here I'm just gonna let you guys know what's happening in this case. So he's been missing since March 5th, 2022, in the Austin, Texas area. These are pictures of him. The one on the right is an updated photo, is what they shared on the flyer. So missing person, Timothy J. Perez. He is from Conroe, Texas, so keep that in mind. They say here updated photo, so that's the photo I showed you just earlier on the right. Now, I know this flyer, the print is not so big, so don't worry, we can get into it. On the right-hand side, I've made it bigger. The little box from the left-hand flyer is on the right now. Name, Timothy Perez. Date missing, 3/5/2022. Austin, Texas. Date of birth, 6/3/1990. 31, his hair black, 6'2", see 180 pounds is what they say there. So slim to medium build, I suppose, right? Dark brown hair, a dark brown eye color. He's male, Hispanic, medium complexion, and the police or sheriff is the Austin Police Department. I will share some more numbers as well in a moment. You can call 512-974-5000 if you spot him. There's the officer's case number, which you can screenshot and share now, or just come back to this episode anytime you need to. And the EquuSearch case number. So EquuSearch is on it. That's the thing to show here. Because a lot of times when we look at these missing persons cases, the first thing that most of us ask is Brian Enton on it? Is Brian Enton on it? The second question we ask is EquuSearch on it, right? So yes, the little box that I've said there, we will read in a moment. Wait, let me just quickly see what it said there. So they said a sighting of Timothy Perez is confirmed in Round Rock, Texas. We're going to go in more detail now, so let me just read it quickly to you. They say a photo taken of him on Saturday is included. Do not approach. Please contact law enforcement if seen. So that's interesting. I don't know why they think do not approach. I don't know. 31-year-old Timothy James Perez of Conroe, Texas was last seen in Austin, Texas on March 5th, 2022. He has shoulder-length black hair, brown eyes, a medium complexion, and a long beard. Timothy's last known location was near the intersection of the I-35 and West Palmer Lane in Austin. It is unknown what clothes Timothy was wearing at the time of his disappearance. If you've seen Timothy Perez since his reported disappearance, if you know of his current whereabouts, or if you have any information whatsoever concerning Timothy's disappearance, please call the Austin Police Department, and the number I'll put on screen now as well. It's on the right-hand side too, or Texas EquuSearch. So you can also email info@texasequisearch.org. So there is that as well. Timothy is a professional musician who went to Baylor University on a full scholarship. He was feeling depressed after losing his business during the Rona. You see, the Rona really caused a lot of depression, man. Oh my word. Okay, so feeling depressed after losing his business during the Rona, but did not have a history of mental illness or any run-ins with law enforcement. Timothy's father, Robert, said that he was driving to Austin, Texas to visit his brother. So Timothy was driving from Conroe, which is near Houston. He was driving to Austin, Texas to visit his brother. He called his dad around 1 a.m. to say, "Dad, come get me, I'm lost." He then hung up and was never heard from again. His car was found at 4:20 a.m. on Saturday, March 5th. So that's not very long after. 3 hours, 20 minutes later. Wow. The police just found his car abandoned along the I-35 near Palmer with no gas in it. So they said the engine was cold and there was no gas in it. Yes. And Ellie, I agree with you. It's hard to recognize a narc until you've experienced one. Even I agree with you. It's hard. But once you know them, then you can spot them. There's unfortunately quite a lot of them, huh? Okay, Timothy was last seen in the Round Rock area on March 6th. So that's interesting, you see, because it's not March 5th. They're talking about March 6th here. On March 6th, the St. William Catholic Church called the police to report a man loitering in the area. So this case feels so similar to Vladek's case, right? He refused to identify himself, but then was later identified as Timothy J. Perez. The BOLO, the Be on the Lookout, was not issued yet. He was issued with a criminal trespass warning and has not been seen since. Eerily similar to Vladek's case. He's not different area, of course, I'm just saying. His phone pinged in Conroe, Texas. His phone pinged there? In Conroe, Texas, where he's from, the place where he was originally driving from, on March 16th. It's like 10 days later. It was allegedly turned on only for a brief moment before it was turned back off. His phone has not been located. At the time of his disappearance, Timothy did not have his ID with him, only his cell phone, which is worrying because it makes him that much harder to identify if he's found. His dad said if he goes missing, like he's going to be a John Doe because he doesn't have ID on him. That is what he was saying there. So I guess maybe that's also why he didn't want to identify himself, or he was saying he's refusing to show ID because he didn't have it. And maybe he didn't want to say, well, I don't have it, you know? His dad worries that he has suffered a mental breakdown and has lost his way. He says that APD received 2 calls with reports of a man who said he was lost in the area later that morning, but the police did not respond to the scene. So that sucks. Okay, so note, Tim's family has said that there has been a huge reporting error. See, this is what I was talking about. I came across a sentence on a blog somewhere that said that the police contacted him for a welfare check and he said, no, he's fine. And so the investigation is no longer ongoing, but they say that's false. Tim was not contacted by the police. Reports say he was and said he was okay. And this information is harming the investigation. Please share Timothy's case. He needs to be located. So even if he did go on purpose, which I don't know what to think of this case at all. Still, he needs to be located. His family needs answers. I know adults can go on their own, but it doesn't seem like that's the case here, but I'm not too sure. I just want to share this missing persons case, and I really, really hope that they can find him. Yes, if you have any information that could lead to finding Tim, please call either the Austin Police Department 512-974-5000 or the Houston Police Department Missing Persons Unit at 832-394-1840 or EquuSearch 281-309-9500. A private investigator is also working on the case. You can contact him at 512-844-7933. There is a link in the description box to EquuSearch's page about Timothy, where you can then download the flyer so that you can help either spread awareness on social media, or you can actually print the flyers out so that you can pass those around. Please keep a lookout for him. This is him singing over here.
She's the best witch, watching Harry Potter, feeling fine like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch. I'll be watching Harry Potter, feeling fine like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch. I'll be watching Harry Potter, feeling fine. Sitting on Nimbus 2000 with all these houses frowning, but I bet some cause we got all this money and green God's bank. Dark mark in the sky, dead beaters trying to harm us. When they better come quick with the flip of the stick or I'll drop them with the X-Milliarmus. Oh yeah, Ravenclaw, know what's up. Put your arms up. Put your arms up. Put your arms up. Put your arms up. With these muggles all around me, they be acting like they drunk. I'll be standing in line, just like a wizard. Broken glasses in my eyes, got the figures out of Hermione's wand. She's the best witch, watching Harry Potter, feeling fly like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch. I'll be watching Harry Potter, feeling fly like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch, like it's Quidditch. I'll be watching Harry Potter, feeling fly like it's Quidditch. Thank you. It's a song I found on YouTube.
I think he has a beautiful voice. I really like that performance as well. So just again, a reminder that 20% of all profits from this collection will be donated to families of missing persons who need some help. I'll be sharing this every single Monday. Every single Monday, we're going to cover missing persons cases because I'm very passionate about doing that. And I really hope that we can make a difference. Okay, yeah, seeing Stephanie, exactly. Seeing video makes it all more real. Someone's loved one, he has a soul, right? He has a very nice voice, and his family and friends are absolutely distraught, of course.
love him and I miss him. And I will forever be proud of him. He's so talented and kind.
And last but not least, we've got to do map time for him because this is very interesting as well. So if we look at this, what I found interesting, okay, let's look at this. Let's zoom out of it quickly. He, was from Conroe. That's where he lives. And here's Houston. So they want flyers and awareness to be spread in Houston as well because he could be in this area. Yeah, map time. All right. Yeah, I saw that as well. So let's tweet it up. I mean, I've made tweets, TikToks, Instagrams. So yeah, let's continue to get this case, on social media. So he was from Conroe, Texas. They're looking in Houston, Texas as well. He was driving to Austin, Texas to meet up with his brother. And then he called his dad, remember, at 1 a.m. on March 5th and said he was lost. And then his dad said, just pull over, it's okay. But then he hung up and his car was found abandoned here, West Palmer Lane. Wait. Yes. I put this little pin here because they said along the I-35 and West Palmer Lane. His car was found abandoned there. And I mean, it must have been abandoned, kind of like on the side of the road type of thing for the police to so quickly kind of swoop in and be like, whoa, this car's abandoned. There's no gas. The engine's cold. And then be able to call the dad. Because the dad was called at 4:20 a.m. So that's interesting. They probably ran the plates and maybe got hold of the dad and like, hey, man, your car's here, whatever. Something like that. I don't know if it was his car. I'm just saying. They got hold of the dad real quick. And so the thing that I found interesting was that they say he was seen last at that Catholic church in the Round Rock area. So you can see that's pretty far north from where his car was abandoned. Let me just see how far this is. I don't want to take that off right now. Wait. Details. I don't want to mess up the maps. Hold on one second. From Round Rock to West Palmer Lane. It's about 8 miles or so. So did he hitchhike there? What happened? But the thing is, he was also last seen in the early hours of the morning at an HEB store. So I'm assuming it's this one. I don't know exactly which one, but he was banging on the windows trying to get inside. The store was closed. He was trying to get help because he was freaking out because he was lost. So that's what people from surveillance, I'm assuming, or people around there saw. So he was seen at an HEB store. So if you think from there to there is also interesting. And then ending up around the Round Rock area, which is where he was said to be loitering outside of a Catholic church. And they called the police instead of helped him. I'm just saying, wow, just called the police. They're like, oh, my word. And then he wouldn't identify himself. And then he got a criminal trespassing warning. And then he's not been seen again. Now, the one really scary thing that his friend who sent me the case shared with me is that this area here called Lady Bird Lake, which you can see is all along this route. You know what I mean? From Round Rock going back to Conroe, because his phone actually pinged in Conroe 2 or 10 days later, almost 2 weeks later, 10 days later, his phone pinged back here only for a moment. Okay. So the thing is, that's strange. So if someone, potentially a serial killer, I'll just say it because that's what the friend was saying, Rose. If someone was a serial killer in the area, I mean, they're operating between these two areas, possibly, speculatively. You know why? Because in Lady Bird Lake, and do yourself a favor, and go and look up bodies found in Lady Bird Lake. And it's since around 2016, from what I can gather, many young men's bodies have been found in this lake. So I really hope that's not the case. I absolutely hope that they find him safe, well and alive, and they get the answers and everything. I just, I wouldn't actually normally mention it unless the family mentioned it to me. And Tim's friend Rose mentioned this to me, so I'm mentioning it to you because I'm like, oh my word. Out of the respect for the families, I don't sometimes talk about any of the dark options. But there's been a lot of bodies pulled out of this Lady Bird Lake, and it's specifically young men's bodies. So, of course, 31 can still be described as a young man, right? So in their 20s and 30s. And this lake is non-swimmable. So I think it's I don't know if it's polluted or the water's just not safe to swim in. So if there is speculation that there is a serial killer operating in this area. So that is very, very scary to think about. And I didn't even put this in my presentation because if you just look it up yourself, you'll see like, oh my word, since 2016-ish or maybe even before, a lot of missing men in the area. And I mean, Tim was vulnerable in the situation, feeling like freaking out. His car essentially broke down because he ran out of gas, and then like freaking out trying to get to places, and he didn't have his ID, only his phone. He was in a vulnerable position at that point, and you just don't know. I mean, if you haven't yet read my John Wayne Gacy book, please do that. But think of Gacy, how he operated. That's exactly, he would just drive around, lurking around, and finding people who were really looking to go to like a bus station or looking to get around somehow. He found the perfect vulnerable people, So I really hope that isn't at all the case. I hope that he actually, because his phone pinged in Conroe, I hope somehow he got back there. This case, oh, it bothers me so much. So I really hope you'll share it, because we need to make sure that this gets out onto social media, even. It's hardly on social media.